Hi, this is Bill Punch. Another video in the series of videos from Michigan State University on the topic, the Introduction to Computing Using Python, CSE 231. Today we're going to do an introduction to the process of dealing with errors, and the construct in Python that allows us to do that is exceptions, and we'll take a quick look at how exceptions work. Let's go ahead and get started. So we are only too used to, at this point, how errors come up. We have them all the time, and there are lots of different errors. And what's Python's default behavior? If I perform this piece of code, my string ABC, and I do something out of range, I try to run it, Python complains, and basically the program stops at that point. Python prints out some information of what went wrong, and it's useful to look at that. It was on line 2 when it happened. The particular error was index error, and a little more information, the string was out of range. That's great, but wouldn't it be better if we as programmers could catch these errors when they occur, and instead of having Python quit, keep going, and even better if we could fix the error as it came up, that would even be better. So, Python gives us the ability to do this, and the way it starts out, the way we can learn to understand this is that Python has a very particular list of errors. When something goes wrong in Python, it stops the program, and as I said, gives you some information, in particular the error. So it's only too easy to develop these errors. Let's take a look. Let's try to divide by 0. In Python, gives us a very particular error. It's called the zero division error. And errors are written in a particular format, unlike the lower with under approach that we've seen before. These are written in what's called camel case. And by camel case, we mean that for multiple words in a string, we capitalize the first letter of each word, and the idea is it looks like the humps of a camel. So we name errors differently than we name other stuff, but it's a very particular error, yes? If we wanted to repeat the one above, ABC or AB index 4, it says no, you can't do that, and a very particular error, it's called the index error, capital I, capital E. Any error that you want to think of, there's a particular name for it. What if we try to open a file that doesn't exist? Open Fred. It says no. Right, there's a particular error, IO error. And so the spelling and the camel case capitalization of these is very important. We need to remember them particularly because we are going to look for those kinds of errors by their names. But we don't have to memorize them. It's pretty easy for us to just go in the console and generate them and get a look and see what they look like. The way we're going to deal with this is called the TriAccept Group. And it looks something like this. We are going to select a piece of code to run, and we're going to run it under a suite of the try statement. So there's a try, there's a colon, and here's the suite. And this is code we're going to run. Any Python code, doesn't matter what it is. And for all intents and purposes, we are watching this code. We're looking to see if there's an error. If an error occurs, then Python's going to stop, and it's going to look to see through a series of except clauses, as many as we want. Did you write an except clause with the appropriate spelling, IO error, zero division error, so on and so forth, saying that, hey, I would like to deal with this error. If so, it will move to that suite and do whatever you said. And so instead of Python quitting, right, stops execution, looks for the error, somebody that can handle it, goes to that suite and runs it. When it's all done, we pick up and keep going. Python doesn't have to quit at that point. That's the general idea. So there are the two parts, the try suite, the thing that we're going to run, and the except clauses, as many as we need, each one associated with a particular type of error. Right, so we're watching the try code, and we know how to deal with a series of errors that we have listed under except clauses. So the way it works is that the try block, if there are no errors, finishes and skips all the excepts. So if this all worked, and we get through this code without any exceptions, then we skip this, and we skip this, and we just finish up and move on. If it turns out an error occurs somewhere in this code, the code stops at that point. We may not finish that suite. We jump to the exception that does whatever it's supposed to do, execute that, move on at the end of the code. There's a nice little picture here of this for a particular error. So here's some line. We have an error that occurs at line 2. So that's when the error occurs. We never execute line 3 after that. Python says, hey, I know what kind of error this was. Did anybody watch for that particular error? Yes, this guy's watching for that error. We're going to execute this suite, and when we finish this suite, skip this one, pick it up in the next line. It's easier to sort of see this with an example, so let's try to do it. So here's a piece of code. This is what we're watching. This is the suite we're watching. And there's a couple things that we could get wrong in here, and we're going to catch value errors and zero division errors. A value error is going to occur when I try to convert, like if I try to say int of ABC, that's a value error. Zero division error makes sense. Let's see how this goes. So imagine that I enter the string 2, I try to convert it to a denominator, print what the denominator is, divide it by 10, print something out. What are we going to get? Let's run that. We get the denominator is 2, that works, and so this line ran, we did the division, and this line ran, we skipped this, picked it up here, here we are at the end. What if we change this to Fred, and we try to run the code again? So at the point of running the conversion code, this is the error, and now we will not execute any of the rest of this code. We will stop at this point and we'll look for a value error. Did we have one? Yep. We'll run this print statement, skip all the way out, pick it up, and that's what we got. Right? So we couldn't convert the int, and here we are at the end. What if I said the string 0? Run that. We get as far as saying I can convert that, I can print that, I try to do the division, that's where I get the error. Can't run this piece. Am I looking, this is a value error? No, this is zero division error. Pick it up, print that out, finish, pick it up at the end. What would happen if I misspelled a variable name? So let's say that I forgot to say the value as a string and just value like that, and I execute this. What happens? Well, an error occurs just like we would expect. The error occurs right at this point. But the error is called a name error, capital M, capital E, and we don't have any catchers for name errors. So Python said, okay, a name error, does anybody catch it? No, no. Okay, I'm just going to do my regular Python-y thing, and I'm going to stop executing, show you what went wrong.